workers in connection with the incident. Notices have been issued to all of them and asked to appear in the police station for questioning within 2 days. While Babulal says that local MNS leader called him after the incident and apologized for the attack, the leaders of Raj Thackeray's party remain defiant and brazen, doling out open threats of more violence in the name of Marathi. Party's state vice president Reshma Tapase, in an interview with NDTV, justified what happened and also threatened a repeat.
जो महाराष्ट्र में आना चाहता है, जो अपना पेट भरना चाहता है, जिनको लगता है कि महाराष्ट्र में अपने बीवी बच्चियां सेफ है, सुरक्षित है, उनको मराठी आनी चाहिए. जो मराठी का आदर नहीं करेगा वो पीटेगा. जो मेरे पास आ रहे हैं वो सीख रहे हैं मराठी. कसं ना, जे आक्कडमध्ये बोलतात ना ते मार खाणार आहे मॅडम.
As the video of the attack went viral, all the political parties in the state have come out against MNS.
हम महाराष्ट्र में कट्टरता से मराठी बात करेंगे, लेकिन और कोई भाषा का अपमान और कोई भाषा के व्यक्ति का अपमान सहन नहीं करेंगे. कोई भी कानून हाथ में ले ये सरकार मान्य नहीं है.
आप किसी को मार नहीं सकते, आप गुंडागर्दी नहीं कर सकते. उस व्यक्ति को अगर बताना है कि तुझे मराठी आनी चाहिए, सीखनी चाहिए, तो आप शांति से उसको बताओ. आप अगर संविधान को हाथ में लेते हो, मारा पीटी करते हो, तो वो अच्छी चीज नहीं है.
हमें जिस राज्य में रोजी रोटी मिलती वहाँ की भाषा आनी चाहिए, लेकिन भाषा नहीं आ रही इसकी वजह से कोई मार रहा है तो इसका हम समर्थन नहीं करते. पुलिस उस पर कार्रवाई करेगी, कानून व्यवस्था पुलिस के हाथ में है.
जो लोग महाराष्ट्र में आते हैं उनका स्वागत है, उनको रोजी रोटी यहाँ मिलती है, तो उन्होंने यहाँ की संस्कृति और यहाँ की मराठी भाषा दोनों का सम्मान करना चाहिए. लेकिन मारपीट कर यह हासिल नहीं होगा. यह हासिल तो प्यार मोहब्बत से सबको गले लगाकर सबको अपना मानकर ही होगा. तो मारधाड़ के पक्ष में तो कांग्रेस कभी थी नहीं और कभी रहेगी भी नहीं.
The incident has created fear in the minds of common people. The question is, will respect to the Marathi language come through fear and violence?
Language is a mirror of culture. But will the respect of language now be decided with sticks? What has happened in Mira Road is not just an incident. It is a reflection of the tension that is being dissolved in the city's fizza. From Mira Road with video journalist Praveen G. Rohit, this is Sujata Dwivedi reporting for NDTV.
And this high-handedness has raised serious questions about the Raj Thackeray's MNS and its motivations. Why are they so desperate? Here is Raj Thackeray. Remember, he is the nephew of late Balasaheb Thackeray, cousin of former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray. His party is staring at political decimation. That's the truth. The 2024 polls were a disaster for the MNS, with all its 125 candidates being, losing the deposit, in fact. Even Raj Thackeray's son, Amit Thackeray, faced defeat from Mahim. The party is now at the risk of losing its recognition and symbol from the Election Commission. So in a bid to revive its diminishing political capital, the MNS seems to be raking up the language row to gain political ground. The desperate move comes as the party eyes the upcoming BMC polls, which are very, very crucial in Maharashtra. The Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, remember, was founded by Raj Thackeray in 2006 with a strong emphasis on Marathi pride and the welfare of Marathi-speaking people. The party's ideology is rooted in Hindutva and the concept of Marathi Manus, aiming to protect and promote the cultural identity and rights of the Marathi population. Over the years, the MNS has often resorted to aggressive tactics to assert its stance on Marathi pride. This latest incident is yet another example of the party's attempt to revive its political fortunes by stirring up linguistic and regional sentiments. Is this the right way to address the concerns of the Marathi-speaking population, or is it merely a ploy to regain lost political ground? The MNS's action have certainly put them in a spotlight, but the question is, at what cost? Joining me on the show tonight, we have Aniket Nikam, who's the spokesperson of the BJP, P.K. Jain, former additional DGP of Maharashtra, Mayur Parekh is a political commentator, Mangesh Kasalkar is a leader of MNS. मंगेश जी, आपसे पहला सवाल हम पूछना चाहेंगे. चुनाव में तो कुछ हुआ नहीं आप लोगों का, तो इस तरह से मराठी प्राइड के नाम पर, लैंग्वेज के नाम पर कब तक गुंडागर्दी चलेगी?
मैडम जी, पहली बात तो प्राइड के हम पे कोई गुंडागर्दी नहीं होती। मराठी भाषा ही हमारा अस्मिता का प्रतीक है और उसके लिए ही हम लोग फाइट करते हैं और हमेशा करते रहेंगे। और जो भी गुंडागर्दी की आप बात कर रहे हो, तो पहली बात तो जैसे वो एक्शन का रिएक्शन है, वो जिस तरीके से बात कर रहे थे, आपने भी वीडियो में देखा रहेगा कि जिस तरीके से वो बात करते हैं, वो हमारे मराठी भाषा का अपमान कर रहे थे। उसको जैसे हमारे जो कार्यकर्ता लोग हैं उनसे वो रिएक्शन आ गई, बस दैट्स इट। कोई गुंडागर्दी नहीं है। उन्होंने जिस भाषा में बात किया उसी भाषा में हमारे लोगों ने उनको जवाब दी।
मंगेश जी, अगर वो हिंदी में बात कर रहे हैं तो ये तो नहीं है कि मराठी का अपमान कर रहे हैं?
मैम, आपने कहा मैं भी हिंदी बात कर रहा हूँ। उनको भी वही कहा गया था, अगर आप मराठी भाषा नहीं बोल रहे हो सीख लीजिए। लेकिन उनका जो जवाब था उसकी वजह से उनको मार गई। आपने मुझे कहा, मैंने हिंदी बात की, हिंदी से कोई एतराज नहीं, लेकिन अगर हमारी मराठी भाषा उसका सम्मान भी करना चाहिए, वो भी जरूरी बात है, जो भी संविधान में लिखा है। आप उन महाशय का दुकान देख लीजिएगा, उनके दुकान के ऊपर सभी जो मुंबई महानगर पालिका का जो हमारा मीरा भाईंदर का भी जो महानगर पालिका उसका जो नियम है, उसकी वजह से वो मराठी में भी लिखना चाहिए था, वो भी उनके दुकान के ऊपर नहीं था। तो ये तो अपमान हुआ ना मराठी भाषा का।
पार्टी ने अभी तक इन लोगों के खिलाफ एक्शन क्यों नहीं लिया है, ये सवाल है आपसे।
इस बारे में
किस तरह से किसी को भी मारना पीटना सही है?
किसी को भी नहीं मारा। जिन्होंने मराठी का अपमान किया उनको किया है। इनको मराठी का सम्मान कैसा करना चाहिए वो सीख दी है। उसमें पार्टी का कोई इसमें नहीं, जो मराठी भाषा का अपमान करेगा उसको मराठी भाषा का सम्मान कैसा करना चाहिए।
Not the first, perhaps won't be the last, but this kind of hooliganism seems to be very, very commonplace in the name of linguistic identity and pride. And MNS in particular and Shiv Sena in the state seem to be getting away with it time and again.
Good evening, Marya. Thank you very much for having me here. Yes, sporadically these incidents have been happening in Maharashtra time and again. And perhaps in the past also no stern action has been taken by the police. That is why some people are getting emboldened to take steps like this, take law in their own hand and beat up hapless people, whether they are shopkeepers. This person, as I see in the video, was only saying, उन्होंने पूछा महाराष्ट्र में कौन सी भाषा बोली जाती है, उसने कहा सभी भाषा बोली जाती हैं, and immediately the slapping started. I think it is time that the police they tighten up their girdle and they take very, very stern action against whoever has done this, committed this offense. Otherwise, I can assure you that in the run-up to the elections, these incidents will be repeated and a whole lot of atmosphere of fear will be created in the society. I think it's high time that the police acts and takes action. The people have been identified, their names are known, so who are the people, they are known. Anybody supporting or not supporting, the law must take its own course and action must be taken.
Yes, so Aniket Nikam, it's your government. Devendra Fadnavis is also the Home Minister. Why no action? Why no arrest so far? I mean, just look at these images. All of them are roaming around brazenly, in open. They have been identified, but no arrest so far. Why no arrest?
First of all, let me tell you, in our country, Constitution is supreme.
Yes.
And no person can take law in their hands, whoever that person may be. So under the pretext of asmita, no person or no political party can try and insult another language. Our leaders have been very categorical that we respect Marathi. No language can replace Marathi in Maharashtra, but at the same time, we also respect other Indian languages as well. Now, these goons who have been seen to have manhandled and beaten up this gentleman, of course, an FIR has been lodged against them. Police have issued notices to them to appear before the police station for the purpose of interrogation because there is a procedure that has to be followed. The point remains that under the garb, see, this is a case where MNS has drawn a blank in Vidhan Sabha elections. We have seen they have not won a single seat despite having contested on 125 seats. Now BMC elections are upcoming. They wanted to create some sort of ruckus to stay relevant. But such kind of strategies will really not work because people will see through this. If you take law in your hands, action will ensue. And now that an FIR has been registered, the police are in the process of taking appropriate legal action against them and sending out a strong signal that if you take law in your hands, you will get what you deserve.
Okay, so this is what there will be action, Mangesh ji. यही तो भाजपा बोल रही है कि अगर आप लॉ को फॉलो नहीं करेंगे तो ये आपके खिलाफ एक्शन होगा।
सही बात है, उन्होंने अनिकेत निकम जी ने बराबर कहा है, संविधान सबके लिए सेम होता है। उनके आगे उनकी कंप्लेंट होना चाहिए। जो शॉप पर्सन है उन्होंने जो भी अपमान किया है मराठी लैंग्वेज है या जो भी लीगल लाइसेंस का उनका मराठी लैंग्वेज में नहीं है,
हाथ नहीं उठाना चाहिए। अगर आपका कहना है कि वो
निकम जी कैसे होता है ना, अगर उनका आप वीडियो में देखिए जिस एटीट्यूड से वो बात कर रहे हैं
मंगेश जी, मैं सब आप
एक बार आपने
मंगेश जी आप बोलने के टाइम पे मैंने आपको जरा भी डिस्टर्ब करता हूँ। मंगेश जी आप जो कह रहे हैं वो सच में ऐसा मान के चलता हूँ, लेकिन
बोलने के टाइम पे मैंने आपको जरा भी डिस्टर्ब नहीं किया था।
चलिए बोलिए मंगेश जी,
कंप्लीट कीजिए पहले।
बोलिए
ऐसा है ना कि अगर उनका एटीट्यूड दिखिए, जो एटीट्यूड में वो बात कर रहे थे, आप वीडियो में भी दे सकते हो। मन से हर एक पार्टी का अपना अपना स्टाइल होता है, हमारा स्टाइल वही है। और जो जिस भाषा में बात करेगा उसी भाषा में उसको जवाब भी मिलेगा।
ऐसा है,
बीजेपी की स्टाइल अलग है।
कानून तोड़ना ये स्टाइल नहीं होता है, कानून तोड़ना ये गुनहगारी होती है। और मैं ये समझता हूं कि अगर आपको जनता के सामने अगर कोई अच्छी छवि या प्रतिमा आपकी पक्ष की रखनी है, तो अगर ये लोग आपसे बर्ताव सही नहीं कर रहे तो आपने पुलिस में जाके तकरार करनी चाहिए। जीआर है कि हर शॉप में मराठी में नाम रहना चाहिए। अगर वो जीआर का उल्लंघन हो रहा है तो आप एक्शन लीजिए, कंप्लेंट कीजिए, उनका शॉप एक्ट लाइसेंस कैंसिल होगा। बट दैट डज नॉट एंटाइटल और एम्पावर यू टू टेक लॉ इन योर हैंड्स एंड असॉल्ट समबडी। और मंगेश जी एक और बात, मराठी हमारी अस्मिता है, बिल्कुल इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है, लेकिन हमारी हिंदी देश की राष्ट्रीयता का भी प्रतीक है। तो इस वजह से अस्मिता और राष्ट्रीयता ये दोनों जो है हमने साथ में रख करके
अनिकेत जी आपने सही बात अपनी सही बात की कि हिंदी भाषा भी अपनी राष्ट्रीयता का और अपना मराठी अपना अस्मिता का। तो उनको आपने कहना चाहिए कि जो दुकानदार है जो हिंदी में ही बात करते हैं, सिर्फ हिंदी में ही बात करूंगा, ऐसे जो टहल के रखते हैं उनको आप बताना चाहिए कि आप मराठी भी बोलना चाहिए।
नहीं, लेकिन आप सड़क पे जाकर के इस तरह से लोगों को आप समझाने का आपको हक किसने दिया है? क्या आप किसी को भी बोलेंगे उसके बाद आप फिर मारना पीटना शुरू कर देंगे?
किस को समझाएंगे?
मारना कोई
लगता है कि लोग समझेंगे
कैसे है ना मैम? देखिए ये तो कानून है, कानून अगर वो लोग खुद से अगर कानून का अगर सम्मान रखेंगे तो ये जरूरत ही नहीं आएगी मारपीट करने की। कानून है, भाषा में बात करना चाहिए, मराठी का भी सम्मान होना चाहिए।
नहीं तो हिंदी का आप सम्मान नहीं करेंगे? हिंदी आपके लिए अहम नहीं है?
मारे में इसलिए तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, हिंदी में मैं भी बात कर रहा हूँ आपसे आपके चैनल पे, तो हिंदी का ही सम्मान कर रहा हूँ ना हम लोग।
ठीक है। मयूर पारेख, the 2024 polls saw rather disastrous performance by the MNS. They had fielded 125 candidates and not a single victory. Raj Thackeray's son Amit Thackeray also lost from Mahim. And here is the party back at doing what they have been doing so far. Is this an act of desperation, more like an attention-grabbing activity?
Yeah, I think MNS has got what they wanted. They wanted an issue.
Yes. 125 कैंडिडेट और 0 बिल आप बताते जा रही हो। बीजेपी में भी एक टाइम था जब उनके सिर्फ 2 कैंडिडेट थे।
पहले उनके अब जवाब सुनिए
राष्ट्र में।
Okay, listen to him now. Mayur Parekh, let's have him on the screen. Yes.
Yeah, Marya, I really think that MNS has got what they wanted. They wanted an issue. Losing 125 seats, including son of party president, is a really very shameful for MNS and disastrous elections so far. Not only in Vidhan Sabha, even they won around 27 seats in BMC elections in 2017 and losing out their majority of corporators to Shiv Sena. They joined Shiv Sena party and they have only one corporator left in Mumbai, and even just a week back that corporator also joined Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena. So a party without any public representative, if that party wants to come back in power, or at least a party who want to stand up, they have to have an issue and an agenda for their karyakartas.
No, but
and
the question
among
is
voters.
that is this really an issue which can get go beyond just attention to electoral victory or success for MNS?
Well, look at MNS graph. it is coming down considerably
Yes.
from 7% to 5%, from 5% to 3%. At least if they are in alliance with UBT Sena and consolidating Marathi Manus votes, they may have some advantage in BMC elections.
No, but
although there will
Mayur
be a
Parekh,
anti-polarization.
Uddhav Thackre's Sena has not come out in support of this kind of hooliganism.
Definitely. But if they come for some common minimum program, at least MNS is been able to give an agenda to their karyakarta, an agenda to their voters, or they have been able to give an aggressive Marathi Manus figure to the voters, appealing that yes, we are still there and we can come on the street and fight for you. This works in a local election because local elections are fought on local issues. Look at the other issues. The Ram Mandir is not going to rule in BMC election. That's not an agenda for BMC election. What the BMC election will be fought on?
I think the Ram Mandir issue has been settled long ago. So it will not yield any more political dividends for any political party going ahead in any of these elections. But let me bring in Mangesh again. Mangesh ji, BMC का चुनाव आने वाला है, आपको लगता है ये आप लोग के लिए बहुत ही अहम मुद्दा बनेगा? आपको सब लोगों से आप पूछते रहेंगे कि आप हिंदी में बोलिएगा या मराठी में बोलिएगा?
मैम, मैंने फिर से आपको वही कहना चाहूंगा कि मराठी हमारे लिए मुद्दा नहीं है। मराठी हमारे अस्मिता का प्रतीक है। तो मराठी कोई मुद्दा नहीं होता है। महाराष्ट्र है, महाराष्ट्र में मुंबई है, मुंबई में मराठी होगी और मराठी में सब जन बात करेंगे। रिक्वेस्ट है हर से जो भी है, हिंदी में भी बात करता है लेकिन मराठी में भी सम्मान कीजिए, ये रिक्वेस्ट है हम लोगों से। और हर टाइम पे यही चीज होती है, ऐसे नहीं, रिक्वेस्ट से भी बहुत सारी चीजें होती है, रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे लोगों से।
वही मंगेश जी, रिक्वेस्ट कीजिए, हाथ मत उठाइए।
कब तक आया ये?
रिक्वेस्ट कीजिए, हाथ मत उठाइए।
कैसा
ऐसा होता है हाथ उठाने पर आप
कधी कोणाला जर ती भाषा समजत नसेल तर मराठीमध्ये
की वजह से आपके ऊपर एफआईआर दर्ज हो रहे हैं और हम 2025 में हैं। ये जनता है, ये सब जानती है। जनता ये देखती है कि उनके जीवन में आपने क्या बदलाव लाया है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने, भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लीडरशिप ने, देवेंद्र जी के विजन ने मुंबई में बहुत प्रगति देखी है। फिर कोस्टल रोड हो या फिर बहुत सारी चीजें हैं,
पीछे लेना पड़ा।
तो
देवेंद्र जी ने जीआर लाया था और उनको पीछे लेना पड़ा है। मराठी मानुष की
जो है प्रगति के बारे में बात करते हैं, लोग इस बारे में बात नहीं करते हैं और हाथ उठाने पर तो बिल्कुल आपको लोग साथ नहीं देंगे। और आप समझिए एक बात, अगर आपका कहना है कि वो आपका अनादर कर रहे थे, आपका जवाब सीधे तरीके से नहीं दे रहे थे, तो आपने तुरंत जाके उनके खिलाफ कंप्लेंट करनी चाहिए थी, जो कोई भी मैच्योर्ड सिटीजन इस देश का करेगा। अगर आपके सामने वाले के खिलाफ अगर आपकी शिकायत है तो आप शिकायत लेकर के पुलिस थाने जाइए, आप शॉप एक्ट लाइसेंस कैंसिल कराने के लिए उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई कीजिए। लेकिन 6-7 लोग लेकर जाके उसे मारपीट करना, फिर वो रिकॉर्ड करना, फिर वो वायरल करना, ये जो टैक्टिक्स है ये चलने वाली नहीं है, क्योंकि ये इसका लाइफ बहुत छोटा होता है इन सब चीजों का। और हम क्या मैसेज सोसाइटी में दे रहे हैं हम, क्योंकि आप पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हो, आप एक पार्टी के वरिष्ठ अधिकारी हो, पदाधिकारी हो, आप क्या समाज को संदेश देना चाहते हैं? हम लोगों को जाति पर, भाषा पर बांटना नहीं चाहते। मराठी हमारी अस्मिता है, जरूर है, और मराठी के लिए हम जीते हैं।
धर्म भूल गए,
लेकिन इसी समय ये हिंदुस्तान
जाति, भाषा, धर्म का भी यूज कीजिए, जो बीजेपी करती है हमेशा। धर्म के ऊपर बीजेपी जो बांटती है, धर्म का भी आप धर्म भूल गए शायद।
कोई भाषा छोटी,
निगम जी शायद धर्म भूल गए।
मराठी सुनिए आप, मराठी भाषा को कोई भी बदलाव,
मैं आपको करेक्ट कर रहा हूँ, जाति, भाषा और धर्म, जाति, भाषा और धर्म।
महाराष्ट्र Marathi will remain the #1 language in Maharashtra. Having said that, we must also learn to respect other languages. और वही मराठी का कल्चर है।
In the run up to these elections, PK Jain, are you sensing more such incidents where political parties will try to assert themselves in this kind of aggression?
It is bound to happen, Marya, because the elections have been postponed for a considerably long time.
Yes, and it's high stakes.
Apparently, BMC elections are extremely important for certain parties' survival and for certain parties to make a presence in Mumbai. So therefore, the aggression part is bound to be there. unless the police start cracking on such people immediately, this giving notices, etc., this is all a sham. I may disagree with the Aniket here, because action can be taken for disruption of public peace and order.
You have been a decorated you have been a decorated police officer yourself.
Okay, Aniket, let him finish.
Aniket, listen to me. Please listen to me. I respect your knowledge of law. I have practiced policing for a long time. There is something called preventive action against certain people. That does not preclude the police from taking action under the old CRPC 151 and 107. The investigation part, yes, you are correct that they must be given a notice. But for disturbance of public peace and order, action can be taken and initiated immediately, which should have been taken.
Which should be done. Mr. Jain, which should be done. By now, all these people who have indulged in this kind of slapping and beating and thrashing should be behind bars. They cannot get away. Is also something which has to be, it is, clearly on the government of the day and the Home Minister himself. He is answerable for law and order. So thank you so much for joining us, Aniket, PK Jain, Mayur Parekh and Mangesh Kasalkar. Shifting focus to another story now, a concerning trend has gripped India. There has been alarming rise in heart attack deaths. The issue has been thrust into the spotlight following the tragic death of Shefali Jariwala. The 42-year-old actress's sudden cardiac arrest has left many questioning the causes behind such unexpected fatalities. And in the wake of these high-profile deaths, speculation has been rife about a possible link between COVID-19 vaccines and heart attacks. However, the government has firmly denied any such connection. The Health Ministry has shut down the linkage theory, citing comprehensive reports from the Indian Council of Medical Research, which is ICMR, and All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS. The Health Ministry has clarified that all sudden unexplained deaths have been thoroughly investigated. The studies found no direct linkage between the COVID-19 vaccines and an increased risk of sudden death. The vaccines used in India have been declared safe and effective, with no evidence whatsoever suggesting they increase the risk of heart attacks. The Health Ministry's statement emphasized that linking these deaths to the vaccine is both false and misleading. They reiterated that vaccines have saved millions of lives during the pandemic and continue to be a crucial tool in the fight against COVID-19. And adding to the concern has been Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. Karnataka Chief Minister, in fact, has raised alarms over the 23 heart attack deaths reported just 40 days in just 40 days in Hassan district. Most of these were that of young people or middle-aged people. The Chief Minister, in fact, suggested that the COVID-19 vaccine could be a cause of the rise in these heart attacks, citing hasty approval and distribution of vaccines. And in response, he has also created a panel which will provide a detailed report. So on the show tonight, we ask if two credible medical institutions have dismissed these linkages between sudden deaths and the vaccines, then should this theory be put to rest once and for all? Joining me on the show tonight, we have Dr. Rajiv Jayadevan, who is co-chairman of National IMA of COVID Task Force. We also have Dr. Vanita Arora, clinical lead, joining us. He's a senior consultant and a cardiologist. And we also have Asmita Chakravarti, model and Miss Tourism India 2023. We'll be joined by Dr. Raman Gangakhetkar, who is the former head, in fact, of epidemiology and communicable diseases of ICMR in just a bit. But Dr. Rajiv, the question is that when the permissions were being given, the vaccines were being sanctioned, there were a lot of questions raised at that time, and now these sudden increase in deaths which are completely unexplainable. I mean, it's difficult to explain what's causing these deaths. Do you think it's wrong to link vaccines with these deaths? And because these deaths are largely because of cardiac arrest.
There is no link between COVID vaccine and sudden cardiac deaths. That's been proven beyond doubt. But unfortunately, social media is abuzz with plenty of speculation and random claims to such an extent that at any point, if someone has a sudden death, there's an insinuation that it is due to the vaccine. So as they say, when you repeat a lie enough number of times, eventually it becomes the truth. And that's what you see happening in the recent times. Now, I'll give you the facts behind it. It is not COVID vaccine. It is COVID itself that increases the risk of cardiac deaths. And I'll tell you why. There's a large study out of England, out of the UK Biobank, that looked, before the vaccines arrived, they looked at people who had COVID and measured their heart attack rate in the next 3 years. It is remarkably higher than those who did not have COVID. That showed that without the vaccines itself, COVID itself was increasing the risk of heart attacks. And heart attacks are one of the major causes of sudden deaths. The second is a study that was done by our own country in 48 different centers, one of the largest studies to be pulled off in our country. And they looked at people who died suddenly and compared head-to-head, that is equal age, same age, gender, location, with people who did not. And they found something very interesting from an academic standpoint. One, people who took 2 doses of vaccines were far less likely to die from whatever cause. That's number one. In other words, people who took the vaccine were less likely to die, especially 2 doses. Second point is they found that people who had a severe bout of COVID requiring hospitalization, yes, they were more likely to die. That makes sense because COVID is not just a common cold. It also affects the endothelium of the coronary arteries, which is the heart blood vessels. Yes, it can slightly increase the risk of heart attack in the next few years. Now, people who exerted severely after the bout of COVID and people who drank heavily in the 48 hours prior and people who smoked and people who had a family history were the other risk factors that the study identified. We must trust evidence, not random speculations on social media.
Absolutely. I think that's very well explained. And thank you, Doctor, because you clearly and categorically dismissed that theory of which is linking the two, the cardiac arrests with the COVID-19 vaccine. So, Dr. Arora, since, we have seen an increase in, cardiac cases, heart diseases as well, does it have anything to do with an age and also the level of stress? In this particular case, she was on multiple medicines. Shefali was on anti-aging treatment. She was also, taking other medicines, perhaps popping pills. Do you think all that could have been an added factor rather than COVID-19 vaccines?
I absolutely agree with you, Marya. The fact that, the COVID came to us as a pandemic was a real shock. We were learning about COVID as we were dealing with it. We all were learning about it. We were concentrating on the lung issues because there were the acute issues that occurred.
That's right.
What we understood later, much later, as Dr. Rajiv said, was that there was an inflammatory response in the entire body, which affected the heart also. We have so much of cases of myocarditis, which is the inflammation of the heart muscle, which has increased after COVID. And it has been caused by the COVID itself, the virus itself. In addition to that, there are heart rhythm problems, slower heartbeats, faster heartbeats. We have younger population, middle-aged population coming to us, still coming to us with these kind of problems, and we are dealing with them. We are treating them. Now, to label that this sudden death of Shefali, because of other factors which are there, which are in play, and to link it to COVID vaccine, I don't know, it sounds very weird. It is like apples and oranges are the same. So COVID-19 virus affected us, affected our body in much more ways than we can just speculate by saying, it is just this. No, it is an inflammatory response in the entire body. It has affected other systems also. Over and above that, if you are taking off-label drugs or you're taking drugs which are not monitored under the supervision of a doctor or being administered in the hospital and everything, it is very, very, very strange that how come, you're blaming it on something which is totally unrelated. COVID vaccine came as a boon. I understand the concern people have that it was not studied properly, but we didn't have time. It came as a total boon at that time. It saved so many lives. Now, out of that, I understand the concern which is rising because of certain other things. You know, the cardiac conditions.
But why are we
seeing
an increase in sudden heart attacks across India?
See, first of all, the clotting mechanism was deranged by the COVID virus itself. You know, we had clot formations, and most of them, those clot formations was in the coronary arteries. It affected the heart. Along with that, it has called myocarditis. You know, it has got and it is causing sudden cardiac arrest. So people are avoiding their symptoms, and plus, you know, in case you are, Dr. Rajiv very rightly said that in case you have had COVID, you suddenly decide to rush to the gym, start working out on the gym very aggressively when you have not exercised for years together. This is going to cause certain negative factors in the body. You have not taken a clearance from either a cardiologist or a physician.
But Dr. Arora, I mean, we are 2 years away from
that is the irony, Marya. That is the irony.
And still the cases are continuing.
These are the after effects. These are the after effects of that virus.
But the after effects are being seen 2 years later. How do you explain that?
Myocarditis. I have seen so many young patients coming with myocarditis. Their cardiac MRIs are like shocking. The way scars have been created in the heart because we missed out. We didn't realize it is affecting the hearts like that. And people are not, you know, they are having minor symptoms. They are not coming and getting a preventive checkup or a preventive ECG echoes done to find out that they are still in the phase of recovering from that myocarditis, which has been caused by the virus. The virus after effects. This is the aftermath of that virus.
So it's the after effect of COVID, not really the vaccine, which was preventive. Okay, so you're making that distinction. So let me bring in Asmita, and then I'll go back to Dr. Rajiv. Asmita, as a model yourself, you know, there has been repeated discussion around the pressure that those who are part of the glamour world face. But it's very clear that this is not linked to COVID-19. As someone I'm sure you would have got the vaccine yourself. Is there at any stage that you also had some doubts that there is a possibility of this kind of linkage?
So I think what is very important is to have, proper knowledge, awareness from credible sources. I think as ma'am and sir already mentioned, in today's time where we follow, social media, we see a lot of news and it easily affects us. I mean, somebody like Shefali who appeared to be so fit and active, and suddenly something like this happens, as much as it is very tragic, but I also feel it's a very big eye-opener, because I do agree with the fact that post-COVID, people have, they're somehow trying to make up for the time that they lost during COVID. So people try to be more fit. They're spending 2 to 3 hours in the gym, taking extra supplements. And I have seen people in my industry as well that young people can go to any extent to look a certain way, to appear a certain way, and, portray a lifestyle which is very larger than life. And in order to, keep up with this particular pressure, they have like irregular sleep cycles, not taking proper food. They have a very unhealthy routine and diet. And on top of that, they're just listening to these posts and everything about a certain pill or maybe a supplement, and they just take it without the proper knowledge and awareness about what it could do to you. And as we know, post-COVID, we all have been vaccinated, and even then our bodies are not the same. So it's very important to have proper health screenings, I feel.
Absolutely. So Dr. Rajiv, my question is that why this increase in deaths, particularly of youngsters? I understand that there could be impact on those who have, certain comorbidities, BP, sugar, and other concerns, but why people who are seemingly fit?
Okay, I'll take you back to the evidence published in 2011. A landmark paper from India showed that the risk of a cardiac event occurring between 35 and 45, the same segment that we're discussing now, is 1 in 1,700 every year. Now, in India, we have a large number of young people In fact, half our population is below the age of 28, and which means that our average age of having a heart attack is 52. I repeat that. Half our population is below the age of 28. So which means our population pyramid is very different from Western nations, and therefore the total number, not the proportion, the total number of heart attacks and deaths is considerable. And what is increased now is the reporting and the discussion rather than the true incidents. We don't know if the true incidence of these events has really gone up. Someone has to go back and look at all the records and do a study. I do not know that. I've been searching for that answer. But I've talked with several cardiologists, and they do not believe, most of them do not believe the incidence has gone up. But the reporting definitely, because anytime someone has such an event, it comes on social media and even mainstream media. So the number is 1 in 1,700. That's a scary number. And since you asked for the causes, I'll give you 2 studies from India that looked at the causes of why people die at a young age, suddenly, without warning. If they're very young, it need not be a heart event. It could be a stroke, like a bleeding in the brain, or it could be an acute onset of malaria or some sort of pneumonia or infection. It could also be what is called a rhythm abnormality or an electrical problem in the heart, which can come either from a nerve problem or from a muscular problem, which Dr. Arora mentioned. Yes, these are the common causes in the younger age group, but as we look at older people, let's say in the 40 to 45 segment, yes, we see more of heart attacks. And that's really what the current study that's done by All India Institute has also looked at. They said there is no change in the pattern. They're finding more heart attacks in that age segment. But if you look at the very young people, yes, many people are walking around with cardiomyopathies and rhythm abnormalities of the heart with no symptoms. Sometimes they die. It's tragic. But when they hit the news, it becomes all the fingers point towards in only one direction, that's COVID vaccine. That is ridiculous, in fact, to put it very mildly, because these have been well delineated by excellent studies from our own country. Okay. And I think, as I said, we should look at evidence.
All right. We certainly have to. Dr. Rajiv, really appreciate your time. Thank you for explaining it so well. Dr. Vanita Arora and Asmita Chakravarti, thank you. We are now being joined by Dr. Raman Gangakhetkar, somebody we interviewed extensively during the COVID-19 period. He is the former head of epidemiology and communicable diseases at ICMR. Dr. Gangakhetkar, there are a lot of questions which are being raised because of the sudden cardiac arrest or collapse of young individuals. Multiple cases being reported in recent times. Is it linked to COVID vaccine? Did it have, possibility of some kind of a side effect? But the question is, 2 years later, could these vaccines be the contributing factor aggravating the situation when it is about heart attacks?
No, I don't think we have any evidence to suggest that such a linkage could possibly even exist. We have to remember that myocardial infarction and diabetes have a high incidence now in younger population. Now, if you say that all this was occurring because of whatever vaccine against COVID that we had received, we still don't have evidence, because ICMR did an excellent study where they found out that there is no correlation. And now AIMS comes up with another data set. So to me, these are things that are happening. They are coincidental findings. And if you ask me the other way, I would simply say that there perhaps are very few lucky individuals who have not had COVID, who have not received even COVID vaccine. If it was that receipt of COVID vaccine, which COVID vaccine coverage was extremely high, in those circumstances, the risk of death, if it was influencing that, we would have seen so many deaths, especially even in the elderly population who has atherosclerosis, who has diabetes, who have hypertension. So to me, they continue to remain speculative.
Okay, Dr. Gangakhetkar, because the sudden spotlight on COVID-19 vaccines have been because of the death of Shefali Jariwala. She was 42 years old, fitness someone who was extremely fitness conscious, and there have been similar such deaths. Then how do you explain these deaths?
Yeah, I could simply say one thing. We notice what we want to. What we need to remember, we don't notice that so many people have received vaccines and the death rates have not increased even in young population. It is just that when celebrities or people who make news, perhaps they get heart attacks, we tend to blame the COVID vaccine itself. But the reality could be that myocardial infarction could have occurred because of multiple causes.
You know, Karnataka Chief Minister Mr. Siddaramaiah has spoken about it. He has said that there has been a sudden increase in number of cardiac deaths, heart-related deaths, attacks in Hassan district. And he has said that there is a possibility that this has been because of the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccine. Can you say that these vaccines will have had no side effects? Or are you of the opinion that this is not really happening just among the youth? It would have had more impact or on those who have had comorbidities?
As well. No, but let me restate what I'm saying. The first thing is I'm not countering any person's comments as such, because all of us are within their realm of rights to talk about whatever happens. But if you look at it, if you are talking of a district, now you have told me Hassan district, why should it only occur in Hassan district? It should occur everywhere. This cannot be a limited phenomenon. Now, the second thing which we have to remember, that do I have evidence to link what we call in science called as biological plausibility? We don't have that biological plausibility. At its best, what can be done is you can investigate the outbreak, or not outbreak, but you can investigate the event as to why myocardial infarction is increasing in a particular district. But the reality is ICMR and AIIMS have done those studies extensively. Now to say that they are wrong, we will need an evidence. That evidence doesn't exist. So I cannot say that they could potentially be associated with it.
Okay, so you're saying that there's no evidence to link the two. That's what AIIMS report is also suggesting, and also the report by the ICMR. So my last question would be, Dr. Ganga Khetkar, again, if there were side effects, then why is it happening after 2 to 3 years?
Ideally not. Even if you were to associate that kind of vaccine related stuff that you might see, perhaps not. And at the same time, let us recognize one thing. We are not seeing the same elsewhere in the world. Maybe we have not done a good job. People could allege that the studies were faulty. But where are we seeing the same evidences being different in the rest of the world also? So to me, if you ask me even to speculate, I would say who would be the first to die if vaccine was to be associated with deaths. Perhaps it would be elderly population, where we have almost had vaccinations which covered almost everybody, and elderly population has every risk factor that is perhaps available. It could be diabetes, it could be hypertension, it could be everything. So to me, unless we have some evidence to suggest that we need to probe again and look at it in a different way, to me that I cannot, honestly I cannot say without evidence.
All right, Dr. Raman Ganga Khetkar, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Coming up would be an important newsmaker, N. Ramchandra Rao. He is the new Telangana BJP chief. What does he have to say about this rebellion which has happened within the party? Remember, there was a resignation which happened within minutes of his election. Lots more lined up. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
Fenesta Windows, beautiful and durable designs. इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनेस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Find Finer Fenesta.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you. It matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru. Only on NDTV 24/7.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling.
In a significant political development, M. Ramchandra Rao has been appointed as the new chief of the Telangana BJP. Rao is a seasoned politician and a former MLC. And as the BJP looks to strengthen its foothold in Telangana, Rao's leadership will be crucial in addressing key issues and regional disparities. Within minutes of his election, controversial Telangana leader T. Raja Singh, who had often made headlines for hate speech and communally charged remarks, resigned from the BJP. And in his resignation, the Gosha Mahal MLA has lodged a strong protest after several reports claimed that BJP had chosen, of course, N. Ramchandra as the next state boss. Joining me on the show is Mr. Ramchandra Rao himself. Sir, thank you for speaking to NDTV. You have taken the charge of BJP in the state. But there are also the challenges which came from within the party, particularly with likes of T. Raja resigning. How do you see the road ahead for yourself and also for the BJP in Telangana?
The people in Telangana, they are seeing for an alternative for the present dispensation. In fact, the people have forgotten the BRS and the Congress is not able to fulfill its poll promises. So therefore, people are not happy with the Congress party at present. So therefore, the Telangana people are looking forward BJP as an alternative. So in that direction, the BJP will definitely work hard so that we become an alternative to the Congress. And in 2028, our aim is to come to power. That will be our roadmap.
Okay. But Mr. Rao, 2028 is still 3 years away. The challenges, of course, of dissent, disagreements, rebellion from within the BJP. The question is, why should people of Telangana look for an alternative in a party which they have not really tried? There has been a tried and tested party in BRS. Why should they give a chance to the BJP then?
The BRS is a forgotten history in Telangana. It is having its own bickerings in the family, in the party. So therefore, their leaderships are not in a position to create confidence. As far as Congress is also concerned, it is also having its own internal pulls and pressures. People travel to Delhi every now and then rather than staying in Telangana, including the Chief Minister. But my question is that my answer to your question is that there is no bickerings or there is no gap between the BJP leaders in the state. Definitely there will be a collective leadership, and together we'll work hard because people are seeing towards us. So I think there are no gaps in the party leadership, and there is no dissent in the party as far as the Telangana state BJP is concerned, and its leaders are all united. There are some media reports, but we condemn that report. It is not true.
You know, the BJP certainly doubled its tally from 4 seats in 2019 to 8 seats in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. But as far as party's performance in assembly elections were concerned, it remained poor. The party has only 8 MLAs. What challenges do you see for the BJP going ahead in the state?
No, I think that the double increase in parliament, this one, is also to be seen. In assembly also you have to compare it, because in assembly earlier we had only 1 seat and then 1 in by-election and 2 in by-election. So, but then we have 8 members now, from 3 to 8. That is also an increase. And our percentage was nearly around 20%. And we came second and lost narrowly in many seats. When compared to even 2014, our performance in 2018 and 2024 is concerned, is one of the best performance in 2024. So therefore, we are growing, and our growth is seen in an organic manner also. Recently, we have won 2 MLCs here in Telangana. And we won earlier 1 graduate MSc, 1 teachers MSc in Nalgonda area, Hyderabad area. So therefore, the BJP is an alternative if you go by these things. BRS had no candidate for MLC. Congress lost. It was a sitting seat. But then we won that. So therefore, that's what I say, the people of Telangana are looking towards an alternative, and that alternative is BJP.
Okay, since you have spoken about certain parts of Telangana, BJP's rise in Telangana has been region-specific, like northern Telangana and Hyderabad. How do you plan to expand the party's influence across the state? Because you have been traditionally struggling in several parts of the state.
You are right to some extent, but our thrust is that we grow very uniformly in Telangana. We'll definitely make efforts in Nalgonda, Khammam and Warangal, where our results were a little bit disappointed. But we'll definitely cover that. And both North Telangana and also South Telangana and the Hyderabad region, all these regions will have BJP's growth. And you will see the coming elections also, with the local body elections also, BJP is going to fight, and these are a big challenge for us. And we are going to improve our position in those local body elections also.
All right. All the best for your role, Mr. Rao. It certainly is going to be very, very challenging for your party. Thanks so much for speaking to NDTV. We are putting out that entire interview on ndtv.com. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
Finisher windows, beautiful and durable designs. Installation से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टर नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Join Finer Finesta. Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
बदलाव की इच्छा रखने वाले लोग, उनको ये तय करना है कि वो जनसुराज जैसे नए विकल्प को चुनते हैं कि फिर पिटे पिटाए अपनी पुरानी व्यवस्था में जाना चाहते हैं।
मैं चिराग पासवान पूरी तरीके से बिहार विधानसभा का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए तैयार हूँ और तत्पर।
तेजस्वी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं, हमारी पूरी सपोर्ट है उनको। हम किंग मेकर की भूमिका में रहना चाहते हैं।
कि लोग घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाते थे।
प्रधानमंत्री जी को बताना चाहिए कि इनका जो बिहार में जो सरकार है 50% जो नीतीश जी की मंत्रिमंडल में जो लोग बैठे हैं वो परिवारवादी लोग हैं। वो अपने आप को भी परिवारवादी बोले।
जंगल राज लाने वाले मौका देख रहे हैं, अपने पुराने कारनामे करने का मौका ढूंढ रहे हैं।
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims?
Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, a week after AI 171 went down, a handful of Air India pilots, all trainers on the Dreamliner aircraft, went to their full access simulator in Mumbai. Their goal, to recreate a host of scenarios of the final moments of the flight. Remember, 260 people lost their lives. They looked at everything from electrical failures to improper flap settings to basic pilot error. In all cases, the 787 flew out on a single engine. Therefore, if this was a dual engine failure, utterly unprecedented on this type, what caused it? The preliminary report is out next week. I'll be bringing you a special report in this program. Next up on the program, on Wednesday, China declared that the Dalai Lama's reincarnation requires approval from the central government following the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader's announcement that he would have a successor after his death. The Dalai Lama, who turns 90 this week, has been in exile in India since 1959, when Chinese forces suppressed an uprising in Lhasa, Tibet's capital. He affirmed today that the 600-year-old tradition would persist of having a Dalai Lama, alleviating fears among many Tibetans about a future without a central spiritual and political figure. On the show this evening, a very special guest, Lobsang Sangye, lecturer at Harvard and a former president of the Tibetan government in exile. And finally, at 10:30 this evening, Shivarur and I are joined in the studio by John Spencer, the war scholar. We talk about Op Sindoor and how that has redefined conflict in the subcontinent. But first, on to this exclusive report. Exactly 1 week after AI 171 went down, a crash in which 260 people lost their lives, a group of trainer pilots of Air India, there's some of the senior-most pilots on the Dreamliner aircraft, went to Air India's simulators in Mumbai to try and recreate the final moments of the crash. These were some of the key points that they were looking at. Well, what we have over here is an actual animated replica, digital replica of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. One of the scenarios which the pilots in the Air India full access simulator were looking at was electrical failures. They were looking to see whether there were any electrical failures which could have impacted the engines over here, which could have resulted in the engines cutting out in that critical phase of flight. Now, whichever scenario they looked at, they found out that in fact they couldn't. They couldn't get a scenario where, as a result of an electrical failure, the engine switched off and the aircraft was unable to gain altitude. So that first point over there, multiple electrical failures, they were simulated, but they were rejected. The pilots felt that that alone wasn't the factor. The next one were fuel switches accidentally turned off. So let's bring you an image of the cockpit of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner that you see, and what we have marked over there, flashing in red, are the fuel cutoff switches. And the point that they realized is that in a critical situation like that, the likelihood of fuel cutoff switches actually being activated is extremely unlikely. They'll be looking out for that. Remember, digital flight data recorder information has also been recorded. They say that just switching off the fuel switches doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone actually do that? The third point, the entire single engine failure situation was simulated. Remember, the engines on the Dreamliner, the engines that you see right over here, they produce a thrust of 70,000 pounds, 70,000 pounds of thrust per engine, right? This is designed to fly through extremely difficult situations using just one of the two engines, as one on either side. Therefore, they were looking at various scenarios to see what they could simulate to see if the aircraft would take off on a single engine. So the scenario which they looked at was the undercarriage was retracted and an improper flap setting was simulated. Let me just explain that. What you see over here is the undercarriage of the aircraft. Right over here, the undercarriage of the aircraft. When an aircraft takes off, moments after that, the pilots retract the undercarriage. Why do they do that? Because the undercarriage is bulky, it is not aerodynamic. They want the fuselage of the aircraft to be sleek so that it climbs away faster. In this particular case, we know that that didn't happen. So what the pilots did is they replicated that. They ensured that the undercarriage stayed down. They then went and to the wing of the aircraft over here, and on the structure of the wings, there are the flaps. Now the flaps are just behind. Those flaps have to be in a particular position, right, to ensure that the aircraft has enough lift at the point of takeoff. Now, even with the undercarriage deployed, even with the flaps in an incorrect position, they were able to simulate a successful takeoff on that particular day, just on the basis of a single engine, given the power of the engine itself. So that's the key point. The next one, as you've got on your screen, the Dreamliner did take off safely despite multiple failures. Therefore, the question is this: was there a dual engine failure? Could it be possible that each of these engines in that critical phase of a flight failed? Now, that is just a statistical probability. People say that that is not likely. But the key question is this, and this is our final point. A dual engine failure, hypothetical, plus no altitude, which we know to be the case. This aircraft was only about 350 feet off